soon afterwards you said that the world understands that whilst of course there are dangers in acting as we are, the dangers of inaction are far, far greater. The threat of further such outrages, the threat to our economies, the threat to the stability of the world. Did our actions make the world a more stable place?
Well, I would say yes. I mean, not in the sense that we haven't gone through some ghastly events since then. But I think if you look, this is the big question about 9/11, the really big policy question, which is, should you just have said, okay, we're going to treat this as an isolated terrorist act, we will, tighten up our security measures, but otherwise we're not going to go to Afghanistan, deal with the Taliban, I mean, never mind Iraq and all that, but even in respect of Afghanistan.
Well, 10 years on, people might say, well, have you dealt with the Taliban? The Taliban are still there. There's an insurgency still going on. That when American and British troops pull out, there's every possibility that the Taliban could come back and take control.
So the question is, what is the consequence of that, of saying there's still a problem now 10 years on? Does that mean actually you should just have said, well, look, we'll just leave this?
Well, I mean, I suppose the argument then would be, well, if you hadn't got distracted by Iraq, then you had more or less done the job after 2001 in Afghanistan, when the Taliban had been purged from the country.
Yeah, but I think this is the problem, really, that in the end I think what we now know is that actually we hadn't, and the problem is that it goes far deeper than pockets of extremists. And that's why I think, supposing you'd taken the decision and said, okay, we're not going to invade Afghanistan, we're going to leave the Taliban there, we'll threaten them, we'll take security measures, but we'll contain it. Suppose you've gone for that policy, well, who knows, you can never know about these things, but my view is that that movement would have grown in strength. I think over these last 10 years we've degraded it hugely, we've learned how to fight it, but we haven't destroyed its ideology. And we haven't destroyed, which I think is the far bigger problem now. This is where I would view things differently now than 10 years ago. I think the problem that we have is that the narrative that they have, the story about Islam and its relations with the West and the role of religion in society, that narrative has far greater reach and scope than we thought.